Hi everybody, I'm Brandon Gustafson. I own and operate two assisted living facilities, and I created this channel to help people like you learn the ins and outs of investing in assisted living. Welcome to Assisted Living Investing. In the last video, we talked about the day in the life of an assisted living administrator. What's it like to be an administrator? What can you expect as you're kind of going through that process as an administrator? And you can learn more about that in that video. Today we're going to get into, the day in the life of an assisted living operator. What's it like to be an operator of an assisted living facility? I would consider myself an operator of assisted living facilities. I have that in my LinkedIn bio that I'm an operator. That's kind of what I call myself when I talk to people about owning assisted living. I say I'm an owner operator of two assisted living facilities. So that's kind of the role that I see myself playing. But what do I do? What does an operator do? So first off, what's that work environment like for you as an operator? So unlike that assisted living facility administrator who is in the facility and is there, I'm not. I can be remote. Obviously, my facilities are in Colorado and in Idaho, and I live in Utah. I manage those remotely, so you could work remotely as an administrator. And we talked about this in a previous video. I'll link that up here. But you, as an operator, don't need to be licensed. Your administrator needs to be licensed, but the operator does not need to be a licensed professional. It could just be a business manager or something like that. You don't need to have that type of a certification. And then most of the work that you're doing is going to be done in an office setting. So there's not going to be a lot of resident interaction or time at the facility unless that's something that you want. If you wanted to have your office be at the facility as the operator so that you're there, you could do that, but you don't need to be. In my opinion, it's probably best that you're not there so that you're not getting in everybody's way and stepping on toes. You're not micromanaging people. You can be a step away and have a better perspective on what's going on at the facility. We visit each of our facilities in person 2 to 4 times a year, just to make sure things are running smoothly. The physical facility itself, we're doing some maintenance on it, that things are good there, and you have everything. Get a little bit of FaceTime with staff and with residents and things like that. But that's kind of the purpose that we play as operators for our facilities. So you don't need to be there every day. You don't need to have an office there. You're able to kind of do this remotely. You don't have to spend a ton of time on it. It's not a full-time job by any means at all. But as an operator, especially of a small facility, that's kind of what your work environment is going to look like. But what's the daily work like, right? Like that's the big question. What do you do as an operator on a daily basis? And really, honestly, there isn't much that you're doing on a consistent day in, day out basis. There's not something that you always have to do. I would say I put 5 to 10 hours a week into operating our facilities. So it's not a huge ask. It's not a huge time commitment to be an operator, especially after you've completed the purchase. You're able to get in and just kind of have a work on it when you can, address things as they come up. A lot of what you're doing, though, is going to be big stuff, big and important things. That's why you're the operator. That's why you're the owner. So some of the things that you could expect to do is, put out a lot of fires and handling things that come up that would just take too much time for the facility administrator or that are beyond the scope of their work, especially in a small facility, the types of facilities that you're probably looking at. You're going to hold regular meetings with your facility administrator to just see how things are going, and what you could do to best support them in their role as the administrator. I have a video that talks about how I operate my facility remotely, and I'll link that up above so that you can go and see how I do that and what our meetings look like as we're talking with our facility administrator. You're doing a lot of just kind of general office work. So a lot of phone calls and emails and creating agendas and calendaring meetings and those types of things. So it's very high level things, taking care of things, from a higher level. That's a lot of the typical type of work that you're going to be doing as an operator of assisted living. And some of the other responsibilities that you're going to have as an operator are some of those higher level things that we've talked about. We talked about this in the last video, setting that tone for the types of the culture that you want at that facility. What do you want that facility to be like? Is it family oriented? Is it business oriented? What do you want it to feel like? And you are the one that you're the one that is creating that vision and then communicating that to the facility administrator so that they can then carry out that vision for you. Setting expectations for and with the facility administrator. So having conversations with them, especially right at the very beginning, you want to set those expectations about how you're going to communicate, where you're going to store things, how you're going to digitally store things, what the facility looks like. Are you a Medicaid facility? Are you a private pay facility? What does that look like? You're going to set some of those expectations so that they don't come into it blind, and that your conversations from that point on are just easy. Like, oh, hey, how's this going? Because we already set up the expectation. This is what we want to do. So how many beds do we have full? What do we need to do as far as staffing? What help do you need there? And you're not having to keep going back and reiterating a lot of those things because you set those expectations up front. So you as the operator, you want to have that vision, communicate that vision, set the expectation, and then move forward with it from there. You might be handling legal issues as they arise, working with insurance or making sure the proper insurance is in place. If something comes up where, you don't want to deal with legal issues, but sometimes they come up, and that's okay. And you just got to have those conversations with people, conversations with attorneys, making sure that things are in place, and just everything is working the way that it needs to be. You'll be getting all those contracts in place. So we've talked about that a lot in past videos. So I'll link up here some videos around contracts, like Medicaid contracts that we've talked about and what that process is like. You're in charge of all that as the operator. Bookkeeping is another one that you might not think about, but you're going to need to be a bookkeeper or have somebody do the bookkeeping for you. But that's something you want to be aware of. Now, it's important to note that all of these things that I've talked about, they can be offloaded. You could give them to your administrator. You can give it to another professional. In the case of bookkeeping, you could hire a bookkeeper to do a lot of that work for you. If it's something that you don't want to do or you don't know how to do it, you can offload it to somebody else. I would suggest, and we talked about this a lot in our last video, don't overburden yourself. Don't overburden your administrator with too many tasks. You don't want them to get burned out, especially in a small facility. And you don't want to pay for something that you don't have the money to support. Like let's use that bookkeeper as an example. They're not going to be that expensive, but if you don't have the money to do it, then you've got to figure out how to do it yourself. You want to be prudent with your funds. You want to be prudent with your time, and you want to make sure that you are not pushing too much onto your administrator. You don't want them to get burned out. You just want to keep everybody happy. So you as the operator are really striking that balance, setting those expectations, creating that culture from a high level, and letting it trickle down. That is your responsibility as an operator, as an owner. That's what you need to do. So make sure that you're just kind of keeping that in mind as you go and you're working on getting into your facility and what it's going to look like. Those are the things that you need to be aware of and how you're going to be successful. In our next video, we're going to be talking about how to find and hire a facility administrator. That's another huge question I get from people. Where do I go to find an administrator? I'm going to give you a few strategies around what that process is like and how you can find some really good leads to help you find an administrator for your facility. Now that you understand the difference between that facility administrator and the operator and kind of what those differences are, I'll help you give you some resources that are going to help you find that administrator. To learn more about investing in assisted living, just make sure you visit me on my website, assistedlivinginvesting.net. I'm going to have other content out there. I'll be getting something out there to set up some consulting calls here in the near future, and would love to have conversations with you on the website. So please visit me there, assistedlivinginvesting.net, and then connect with me on all my other social media platforms. And remember, it doesn't take a lot, just a little. Keep making that progress, just little bit at a time, and you'll be successful. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.